Okay, so a couple of days ago, I put a poll onto Passion for Books, which is a Facebook group page, asking you guys which book you would like for me to review out of The Hunger Games and The Elite. The Hunger Games by Susan Collins, the first book in the Hunger Games series, and The Elite by Kiera Cass, which is the second book in this selection series. I felt pretty dang sure that I knew which one was going to win, and then was very pleasantly surprised when I found out I was so wrong with what I thought. Excuse me. I thought The Hunger Games was going to win. But by a country mile, you guys at home voted for The Elite, the second book in the selection series by Kiera Cass. So today we are going to honour that and celebrate this book by reviewing it. Now, if you have not seen my reviews before, I have two sections in my review. A spoiler-free section first, so you can get a little bit of an idea of whether or not this book is for you if you have not read it. And then my second section is all spoiler stuff. I can talk and gush and discuss everything that I want to in a spoiler-y way. So let's get right into it and review this book, the second book in the selection series, The Elite by Kiera Cass, which is a young adult dystopian romance. We're going to start off with this spoiler-free section by discussing 3 pros and 3 cons that I have about this book. So let's get into the first thing that I want to discuss about this book, the first con. This is my only con that I have with the book. I ended up giving it 5 stars because I loved it that much and it deserved every star that it received. But there are 2 moments in this book that there are 2 violent moments in this book, and it really surprised me. The reason I'm listing this as a con, because honestly, I thought that the violence was necessary for the growth of the series, but the reason why I'm listing it as a con is because I went into this book with no warning that there would be violence, and anyone who is triggered by any type of violence, I want you guys to be warned that it does exist. There are 2 scenes that play out. The first one is you see everything. It is play by play of everything that goes on in that violent moment. It is very descriptive. You are going to see it. You are going to feel it. You're going to get everything in that scene. The second violent scene you do not see. What you get is a retelling. You visually will see the aftermath of the violence that occurred. They are 2 separate violent scenes involving 2 separate characters. In the second one, you see the result of the violence, you see the aftermath of it, and then what we get is a retelling of how the aftermath came to be. So a retelling of that violence. So again, it's not a con that the violence is in the book, but it's a con that I wasn't prepared, and I think you guys ought to be. The first book for me, the selection, is very, to me, metaphorically, it's very reminiscent of rainbows and fluffy clouds and bright sun, shining days. It's a really sweet and nice, lovely book to read, and I really enjoyed it a lot, which is why I picked up this book. While there are moments that may be seen as violent in book 1, we don't really get much about that at all. So, yeah, we just get a 1 or 2 sentence, oh, by the way, this thing happened. So we don't see the violence playing out at all. It's glossed over, and which keeps it bright and sunny and cheery and happy. But in this book, despite the fact that the violence does elevate this book to a new level, it just comes from out of nowhere. What I will warn you is the fact that there is no warning at all that it's coming, other than if you heed my warning right now. One day, our protagonist, who's on the cover, America Singer, wakes up. She's told to go somewhere. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know what's going on. And the next thing you know, the violence plays out. So it literally comes from out of nowhere. There is no lead up. And yeah, it just smack bang happens before your eyes. So I want you to be ready for that in case violence does trigger you. With the second one, I feel like there is some warning that we are going to see something horrific and that we're going to get a backstory to that horrificness. So I feel like there's a little bit of a warning there that we know something's going to happen, but certainly not with the first one, that we do see play by play, blow by blow. But that is my only con. I wish that I was warned about this, and now that you're warned about it, hopefully you have no cons with this book. Let's move on to my pros. And the first pro I have for this book is the writing style. The writing style is incredibly easy to read, and I don't think that's something that should be glossed over. Currently, I'm reading a book where the writing style is incredibly complicated, and one of the things that I find to be really tough to deal with when it comes to a complicated writing style is that you are taken out of the world so easily by, for example, a word that you don't know. So you have to look it up so you understand what it is the author's trying to convey. And then once you know what the word is, you have to go back to the book and try and refit this meaning that you've just learned back into the plot. And so that's very distracting. And also, if the writing style is way too difficult for you, it's really easy to get distracted with other things. You can be reading a book and suddenly you're thinking about what you're having for dinner before you realize, oh, I'm up to the next chapter and I can't remember what I just read. So please note that for me, simplistic writing style, or at least even if it's not simplistic, an easy writing style is not something to be glossed over and is something to be appreciated. And Kiera Cass does write with a very easy to read writing style, and I really do appreciate that. My second pro for this book is the plot. In this book, the ante is upped so much, and I really appreciate that. One uncommon thing, one thing that's out there that's not really that well known is this phrase, or this, style phrase, whatever, known as middle book syndrome. In other words, the second book in a series is a bit of a dud because the author is just creating a filler to fill in some space before the big bad happens at the end of book 3 or 4 or whenever the book ends. This book did not do that. So the ante is incredibly upped in this book, and while book 1 lays a foundation and is otherwise cheery and nice and happy, this book really gets into some nitty-gritty, and it also is, the ante is just upped. It's so much higher in this book, and I really appreciate that because I was coming into this book expecting to have that nice, fun, slow little ride of happiness and joy and sunshine and butterflies, and it was not that. It was so much more. So that is my second pro for this book. My third pro for this book is the character development. So I mentioned earlier that the first book lays a foundation, and it does. It lays a foundation for the world building. There are two types of world building, two aspects of the world building in book 1 that I want to point out to you guys, which is there is a caste/class system that is very well fleshed out in the first book. I love caste and class systems in dystopians, so I was looking forward to finding out what that was going to be when I read the first book. That is very well fleshed out in book 1. The second thing is the selection process itself. It is described in great enough detail and is continually described throughout the remainder of book 1 so that you know coming into this exactly what the selection is. You don't need to know more about it. You know exactly what all the different classes are. You don't need to know any more about that either, which then allows for the author, Kiera Cass in this case, to really build upon character development. And she does this incredibly well. We learn more about our protagonist, America. We learn more about the second protagonist. I'm not going to name names here until we get to the spoiler version. But yeah, the characters are much further developed, and we find out things about these characters that we did not know in book 1 that I feel are very integral to our protagonist, America's journey through this series, through this process, this selection process. So that is my third pro for this book. The character building is done incredibly well. Now, in case you are one of those people out there who does not like solely character-driven books, so what I mean by this is no plot in the book, it's all just character-driven, don't worry, you're not alone. I don't like that either. I am a plot-driven reader all the way. However, this is a plot-driven book. It just has some incredible character building within the plot-driven book. So don't worry, it is still plot-driven. It's just the character development is amazing. All right, let's move on now to the spoiler version of this book. We'll be right back. If you're not joining me for that, I totally understand. Go ahead and read this book and let me know what you think. Remember the trigger warning for the 2 violent moments so you don't go in surprised with that. And I will see you guys who are not joining us for the spoiler moment very, very soon. Mwah. Thank you for watching. Those of you who are joining me for the spoiler moment, we'll be back in just a moment. Spoiler. 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 So if you haven't worked it out by now, we're in the spoiler section, so I've warned you enough. Let's jump right in and talk about my thoughts on this book. I first want to talk about when Prince Maxon takes America to the library. Oh my god, that was an amazing moment for me because of how much I love reading. If I was in the selection and Prince Maxon showed me that room, I would be saying to him, can I just stay here? You know, I'll sleep in my room, I'll eat my meals in the dining hall where we're meant to eat, I'll do my lessons, but otherwise can I just live here and read all the books? Like, I just really appreciated that. Oh my god, just amazing. And of course this does lead to America and Prince Maxon finding out about Halloween, which sets up that whole Halloween dance thing. Prince Maxon deciding to bring it back for a celebration and to also include family members and siblings in that process, which was really beautiful. Family love time. It was so great to see America's mum, dad, and her sister come to the castle. I really appreciated when America sees Prince Maxon talking to her dad and she has from the window and she has no idea what they're talking about. And then later on when she asks Prince Maxon, what the heck were you talking to my dad about? And he admits to her later on, as you guys know in the story, that he was asking her dad if he could propose to her and send everyone else home that night. Oh my god. How awesome is this? Because America, as we know, she gets so paranoid that he doesn't love her, and yet he wanted to just end the selection altogether and get rid of everyone and propose to her right away. Oh, bless you, Prince Maxon. Anyway, so obviously that didn't happen in the end, but yeah, I did appreciate that. I also really appreciated having, I think her name is May, which is America's sister, there at the castle. Remember how they kept passing notes, letters. Remember how they were writing to each other in the selection and how much May was saying, you know, let me know everything that happens. Next time you're with Prince Maxon, tell me everything. Tell me stuff about the castle, this. And then she actually got to go and be there herself. I just love that. I had so much fun with that moment. And I think it was wonderful to have her family there and have her show them what she's been going through. And then we get to the moment of the first violence, which of course I'm talking about Marley, and Marley being outed as someone who was taking some moments with a guard and making out with him. She was caught. And of course, in this world, you're not meant to do that because if you're part of the selection, you should only have eyes for Prince Maxon and no one else. Which, look, I get it. I get that she shouldn't have, kissed the guard and all this stuff, especially considering they sign a pretty hefty contract in the selection in the first book when America's at home. The guy that brings the contract, he's reading through all the things she's not allowed to do. So they know they're not allowed to do this. So Marley, what are you doing? Like, either don't do it or seriously be more secretive. How did you get caught? But I suppose love is blind. Then, of course, we do get to the violence scene where I don't remember the instrument that was used, but basically Marley is like clubbed or whacked on her hands. She's given a beating on her hands while the guard is like being whacked on his body, which first of all, I didn't understand that. Can someone explain that to me? Why is the girl being given the same category of punishment, but where she is hit for the punishment is different to the guy? Is it because he's a guard and she was a member of the selection? Because she's clearly not a member of the selection anymore. So I don't get that. But anyway, yes, I thought the violence was way too extreme. I really appreciated that America didn't care about formalities, jumped up off her chair, and basically started saying, Maxim, what are you doing? Stop this. Why are you punishing her? It's ridiculous. And I completely agree with that. It was, to quote Hermione Granger, it was totally barbaric. And just didn't appreciate it at all. I think it would have been more than enough of a punishment to just send her home and do what they end up doing anyway, which is making her and the guard guy, I think, like castless or homeless or whatever you call that. I think that was more than enough of a punishment. But clearly not. Clearly they had to make a very public display, and I was with America 100% with what she was trying to get Maxim to stop this from happening. It was completely horrific and certainly not needed. I guess from the king's perspective, he had to make an example of her, and so from a logical perspective, okay, but from an emotional one, I didn't enjoy that moment. I get why it happened. Again, so it's like logic versus emotions. Logically, I get why it happened. I get what the king was thinking, but I don't agree with the result. I don't agree with that violent punishment. I don't think it was necessary. So, America is one of those girls who ums and ahs at the slightest thing over whether or not Prince Maxim actually does love her, whether or not she wants to be here. It's getting a little dramatic where it doesn't need to be. But anyway, whatever. I guess that's just a flaw in America. But one thing I did appreciate was that she was considering leaving the selection because of what happened to Marley. I understand that. Finally, there is a valid reason for her to be as dramatic as she is being, and the fact that she's ignoring Max and doesn't want to talk to him, isn't doing the ear tug. Is it ear tug? I think it's the ear. Yeah, whatever it is. She's not doing that anymore with him. I get that. I totally understand why this is occurring, because this shouldn't have happened in the first place. She does also not understand why he couldn't stop it at this point. So I also validate that. But the moments in the book where she's like, I don't know if he loves me. I think he does. I don't think he does. Is he going to choose me? I don't know. Girl, this prince has told you how many times that he's only keeping up the charade because that's his job, and that he is choosing you no matter what. So I don't get that. Now, yes, granted, when he was making out with Celeste, of all people, again, I'm on America's side with that one. When he's making out with Celeste, I get that she had insecurities, but it's the little things like he wouldn't smile at her or he didn't come visit her. Really? He's told you he loves you. Why can't you just sit back and relax? I guess, we'll never know unless we're in that situation ourselves, but from an outsider reading this book, I don't get it. She is extremely paranoid for no reason sometimes, and that drama can sometimes just be a little bit too much. So moving on to the project that she ends up doing with the other girl, I think it was Chris. Yeah, so with Chris for the Italian reception, that goes really well and I'm really happy for her. I also loved the moment where Chris and America gave the helper lady, who I don't remember her name, the one that teaches them the lessons, and the queen as well, those necklaces. I thought that was such a beautiful moment, and I love how the helper lady, the teacher, got so emotional over it, because she's not normally emotional. She's very strict and, neutral and straight down the line, black and white, da-da-da. And now she's like, oh, thank you, that's so nice of you, da-da-da. Beautiful moment, and really appreciate that. These Italians that America sits with, I couldn't stop laughing with them getting drunk and all the things they were saying. It was hilarious. America played her role so well, and it was just a wonderful moment where obviously Celeste and her team don't do anywhere near as well, which is kind of good because I don't like Celeste. I don't always dislike a character because the protagonist dislikes a character, but in this case, I don't like Celeste because of what she did in book one. Celeste is very manipulative, and she will try and do things, as we know, behind the scenes to to sabotage everyone else. And I don't like anyone who believes in sabotage. Let's try and make this as fair a contest as we can. So I don't like Celeste. So I was kind of happy that she failed at her attempt, but was really proud of America and Chris that they did so well. And I love those Italians so much. So then we get to where America and Marley are reunited. This is a beautiful moment. Oh my goodness. So when Prince Maxon takes America into the room, whatever room it was. Oh yeah, the princess room, where it's all stripped bare now because whoever becomes a new princess will have it decorated to her liking, which kind of foreshadows things. If America is to be picked, we've now seen the room and seen how that's going to play out. But the big surprise, obviously, is that Marley has found a secret way to get into that room thanks to Prince Maxon, and they get to have a reunion, which is really beautiful. I love it. Clearly, this was meant to happen. Marley was meant to leave and be with this guard. She loves him. He loves her. They're working at the castle. The king doesn't know, but they're really happy and very much in love. And I thought that wrapped up that moment so well, and I really appreciated Kiara Cass even just giving us that tiny moment. She only had 15 minutes to talk to Marley, but we got to wrap that up really well, so I really appreciated that, and thank you so much, Kiara Cass, because that was really beautiful. So then we have the moment when Prince Maxon and the king go out to New Asia to deal with that stuff, and everyone thinks they get lost. Honestly, maybe because I know there's so many more books in this series, I knew that they would be fine. I knew they would come back. It didn't worry me at all. But what I do want to get to is the project that all the girls do, where they're talking about, things that they would put into action if they became a princess, little projects that they would want to work on. And we know from the tone of the story, the way it's going, and we know from the little thoughts we're getting from America that America's going to do something controversial. We just don't know what it's going to be. And I had thoughts along the way of, I don't remember what they were now, but I had thoughts along the way of what it could have been that she was going to do. But I didn't know for sure what it was she was going to do until moments before she said it. I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, she wants to eliminate the caste system. And then a moment later she said it. So it was right before the reveal. And I so get why she wants to do it. And I don't like what the king did there. The fact that he wanted to shut down the show and he got very upset with her and wanted her to leave because she suggested that. I mean, I'm not one to disrespect a king, but Your Majesty, take a chill pill. It's an idea that she's come up with. Who cares? I don't know. It's not like she's signing an agreement that says, tomorrow, that's it. There's no more cast. It's an idea that she has. And I get that they have the rebels and they're dealing with those wars and stuff, but honestly, it was an idea and I don't think it deserved that much drama. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. So now I'm just going to skip ahead to where America sees Prince Maxon coming out with the metal box, and obviously then the castle gets invaded and America and Prince Maxon can't make it to the bomb shelter or whatever you call it, that safe room on time where everyone else is, where they were last time. So they end up in a room together on their own, and they finally start talking about all these things, about how Maxon kissed Celeste and why he did, and how he couldn't save Marley and why he couldn't, and all this kind of stuff. In America talking about, the wanting to get rid of the caste system. And then we come up to the second violent moment, which again, I felt, even though it wasn't stated clear as crystal, I do feel that we received enough hints that we kind of knew where this was going. Maxim's kind of wincing in pain most of the time, and then eventually says, I can't do this anymore. And you know something's happened. And you know that he has just been with the king not too long before. So you know the king has done something to put Maxim in pain. At least I did. I worked that out. So when she took off his shirt and saw all the gashes on his body, it really didn't surprise me. It was more me trying to work out, okay, what did the king do? I know the king hurt you, but how did he hurt you? I was thinking more along those lines. And yeah, so then we found out that it's been going on for a long time, which, oh my god, so wrong. And anytime the king has an issue, he's taking it out on Maxim by beating him, basically. Just terrible. And then Maxim won't tell his mum because she has enough to be getting on with, which I don't know if I agree with, to be honest. I mean, I think he should have told his mum. I get that it may not have changed anything, but at least he could talk to her about it, and she seems so loving. Then again, the king seemed like a fine guy until we found out about this. One thing I really appreciated about this, I don't like what the king is doing to Maxim at all. Flat out, don't like it. But one thing I appreciated about this being in the plot is that it supplied character growth for Prince Maxim, because we got to learn more about what he goes through behind the scenes when we don't see him. We only see him when he's around the other candidates. So it's nice to see a little more of what's going on behind the scenes, but we're also learning more about the king. The king is much more of a tyrant than we ever knew. So that was pretty massive. And yeah, obviously they then survive the night, but part of the discussion that they are having revolves around America and choosing to have Ilya be castless and have no caste system anymore. And because of this, the king's had enough. He has taken it out on his son. He has beaten his son for all it's worth, and then also said that America is out of the selection and she has to go home and it's a done deal, which I do not understand. Like, this king, what does he want to do? Hand out like 1,000,000 punishments? Like, you've already beaten your son. How you can do that, I don't know. But you've already beaten your son, and you're also going to eliminate America on top of that. How much do you want to hurt your son? You've hurt him physically, now you're hurting him emotionally, because the king knows. The prince has already admitted this. The king knows that the prince wants America. So he's hurting Prince Maxim every way that he can. Anyway, I'm going to get over the emotion. So we know by the time they come out of the safe area that America has to go home. This broke my heart because I don't want to leave the castle. I'm enjoying myself too much. I love royal stories, especially royal stories where the protagonist knows nothing about the royalty and then goes to stay at the castle. I love that kind of that trope. So I'm really enjoying America being at the castle. Now she's being kicked out, and that really had me so sad. And then right as she's opened the limo door to leave, Prince Maxim runs out, and oh my god, I started crying. Because I was like, yes, he's finally rescuing her. And I was screaming as I'm reading this book, Prince Maxim, why aren't you coming out to save her? Where are you? All this kind of stuff. And finally, right at the last moment, bless you, Kira Cass, he comes out and says, look, you can stay provided that you toe the line and you trust me and da 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 da. And that the king is going to do everything, or the prince says my father, is going to do everything he can to try and stuff you up and, really try and throw you off so that you get eliminated. So, make sure that you can deal with that. And we don't have to wait long for that scene. One of the last things we see is that the king has a confrontation with America. Whoa, that was a confrontation and a half. But America held herself really well. All in all, I loved this book for so many reasons. I loved The Elite. I love this one so much more because of how emotional it made me. It was an emotional journey. So I can't wait to read the third book in the series, which I'm just grabbing now. This one, The One. It's going to be an amazing journey. Now, I just want to quickly give a shout out to my mum, because if not for my mum, I wouldn't have this book right now. My mum actually bought me The Elite for Easter. So thank you, mum, and well worth the buy because it was an incredible read and I really enjoyed it. So thank you. And to my sister for Easter, she bought me The One. So that will allow me to continue on with the series next month. So thank you to my sister for that one. So all in all, 5 stars. It was an amazing read and I can't wait to get on to the next one. What did you guys think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. And thank you to everyone who voted on Passion for Books. You completely surprised me with picking The Elite over The Hunger Games, but I love being surprised. So I'm going to leave that there and let you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Thursday, and Sunday, with reviews on Mondays, my midweek vlog on Thursdays, and my end of week wrap up on Sundays. So I hope to see you soon. Mwah! Bye, guys, and happy reading. Bye.